Yeah, but
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's a little after 6:30, so we're a little late starting, but we're still going to try and finish up by 8:30 and get everybody back out in the sunshine. Yeah, tomorrow. First of all, welcome. My name's Chris Beaton. I'm the Vice President of the Dover Bay PAC. Shino Elliott is here, the President of the PAC as well. We welcome you all to this evening's, the third evening of 4 for the Symposium on 21st Century Learning. We have Brenda Whittam-Neary here, who's going to do a presentation for us this evening and respond to a whole whack of questions, I'm sure. And we also have Albert and Isabella, who will be doing some videotaping of us, and I think get it posted up on the Dover Bay website in the future. Do we know, is the last tape up on the website? I'll have to take a look for it. And I understand you guys want to introduce yourself. Come on over.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name's Albert, and
I'm Isabella.
yeah, so we're both in grade 11, and I'm really happy to be here.
And I'm really interested actually to hear what's being said tonight, and we're a part of the team that's filming you. And
Yeah. So all these documentaries will be online, as Mr. Brooks and Chris Beaton here has mentioned, and so yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you both. So without further ado, I will be watching the time, Brenda, right?
You'll be watching time?
I'll be watching the time.
Yeah.
So, like last time, the Canucks are playing again tonight. So we can't go too late. With that, I'll introduce Brenda.
Okay. Thank you. So thank you for having me. Can you hear me? Like, am I talking okay? I actually was born and raised in Nanaimo, so went to Rock City School and then went to Wellington and then went to NDSS, and so it's nice to be back, and I'm doing some work in the Nanaimo Ladysmith School District in this area of self-regulated learning. And it is certainly a topic that is flourishing in the province. And I noticed that today when I was in a staff room that the current edition of the BC Teachers Federation magazine has yet another article on self-regulated learning. And so pretty much wherever I'm looking in BC right now, I'm seeing a self-regulated learning turn up. And the authors of this article are two brilliant researchers. And so a lot of the research in self-regulated learning is being done in British Columbia. And there's two people in here, one from Simon Fraser and one from UBC. And then Dave Hutchinson and I tomorrow get to spend the day with another UBC professor named Deb Butler, who's doing a lot of research in self-regulated learning academically also. So Nanaimo is certainly leading the way and in the province in many aspects of self-regulated learning. So it's nice to be here, and it's nice to see many of my colleagues here tonight, because we're certainly doing a lot of work with our ICs and assistant superintendents, and it's nice that John's here. And I see Chris and I have been having many conversations about partnering, and we've been doing some nice work here at Dover. And tonight we're going to I'm not going to talk for the whole time. We're going to take a tour of the classroom that Lacey set up here, and it's terrific. And we were just in there, and she was telling some terrific stories about how students are changing in response to many of the strategies that are in not only your classroom, but in your surrounding area. So that is a terrific testimony to what is being done here at Dover also. So we're going to start our journey. So we're looking at this concept of self-regulated learning. We're going to remind ourselves of this old hierarchy of needs that is still very much prevalent today, where we're looking at building a foundation of physiology and emotion before we get to a higher self-actualization, and that is what self-regulation is. It's very similar. We're looking at building a physiological basis and an emotional And so when we're looking at self-regulation, this is a triangle that I have designed, and very much you've had an in-service on response to intervention. And so this familiar triangle where the green area is these Tier 1 universal strategies, and you can see how large the green is, because the research is suggesting that 85 to 90% of what we do in schools should be in this green area. In classrooms, supporting teachers; in schools, supporting teachers and students. And so we are certainly looking at this research, and we are not, this is the work that I'm doing here in the district, that I'm currently have my own classroom out at Seaview, and modeling these different areas of self-regulation, and looking at designing some training modules around each area of self-regulated learning. So the first one we're going to look at is physical, emotional, then social, then academic. And we're just going to touch on them tonight, so that when you hear this word self-regulation, that we're aware that there are 4 or 5 components to, and that this is a critical piece. And when I was in-servicing this morning at Gabriola School, I realized I haven't emphasized this enough. Right in there, there's COR stands for co-regulation. So the development of true self-regulation doesn't really happen cognitively until around grade 4, that we can expect kind of true self-regulated learning. And from the time a child is born until we get into that grade 3, grade 4 area, we are co-regulating them, and we are leading to self-regulation. So that's a concept that I think I need to get better at educating around: co-regulation leading to self-regulation. The other critical concept that is out there in the research right now is moving out of special education into neurodiversity. So we are no longer looking at children and labeling and diagnosing children as different because they don't learn the same as other kids. So the buzzword in the research right now is looking at every brain as having its own fingerprint. And so when we're looking out at our sea of children, between 25, 30 children in our classroom, we are trying to look at this concept of personalization. We're trying to look at this concept of differentiation. And that's what we're trying to do in our 21st century learning, is how can we as educators look at this concept of each brain having its own fingerprint and still keep some control and some structure in our classrooms. So it's very much in keeping with what your 21st century data is telling us, that we are moving into this concept of personalization. So what is self-regulation? As you say, there are 4 different areas. The first one being the physical, and we're trying to get children calm, alert, and focused physically so that they can learn. And then we're looking at this key area of emotional self-regulation, and we're trying to get kids calm, alert, and focused emotionally. Often when I go into classrooms, we have teachers that are trying to teach when kids are not ready in these 2 areas. And so often in classrooms, we're going right up to here. We're trying to go right to the academic piece when kids may not be ready physically, they may not be ready emotionally, and so we're trying to get to these 2 areas of social and academic, but looking at trying to get the foundation ready first. So those are the 4 areas: getting kids calm, alert, and focused physically, emotionally, socially, and academically, to lead up to there, which is optimal brain functioning. So we want to make sure that all the hard work we're doing as educators, we are teaching to an optimal brain. So I wanted to delete that slide. So again, once again, we're going to be talking about these 4 areas. So what is this area of just right? I often talk about this with kids that I work with and with teachers that I work with, that actually Goldilocks was an excellent self-regulator, because as she went into the bear's house, she knew herself what porridge was just right for her. So she was able to regulate herself and pick the one that was just right. her chair, she was able to pick the one that was just right. And with the bed, she was able to pick the one that was just right for her. So she was able to determine that by herself, and that is your true definition of self-regulation. And Lacey and I, when we just went to the classroom earlier, she said her biggest desire for her high school students are that they will be able to do this themselves, that they will be able to pick, to know what their job is and to pick a plan that works for them and to know when that plan is not working and to pick another plan. And that's what that article talks about today in the BCTF, is this whole notion of can people know what is just right. And so Goldilocks knew what was just right for her, and then she knew what wasn't right for her. So when kids are up here, when they're not in this just right state, it's called a state of dysregulation. So we all know what it feels like to be in a state of dysregulation, and we know that it's hard to function when you're in that state. So some of our teachers that I'm working with may be trying to determine what is this just right state, and they're trying to help kids know when their engine's running too fast and then when their engine's running too slow, or when they're too much like a rabbit or too much like a turtle. And so we're trying to teach kids, what does it feel like to be in this just right state, and what does it feel like to be too high or too fast, and what does it feel like to be too slow. I personally use the medicine wheel a lot in my work that I do in Aboriginal education, and we're trying to help kids know. Again, I talked about those 4 areas of self-regulation, and it aligns beautifully to the medicine wheel when we're talking about getting kids in that just right physical state, just right emotional state, just right spiritual state, and then that just right mental state. So the medicine wheel is a beautiful way to represent the different areas of self-regulated learning. So what does just right look like in our kids? In the past, we've asked children to look like this, when they learn that we wanted all children to sit in rows, we wanted all children to look the same, we wanted all children to learn the same. That's not supported in the research as much in our knowledge about 21st century learning. So we're trying to move away from having everybody look the same and learn the same, and we are now moving into this personalization and neurodiversity and 21st century learning. And so what does it look like? So now we're looking at how do we engage our kids. And when we're going into classrooms, kids may not all be looking the same, but we are looking for engagement. So if we are looking at that picture, our goal is on-task behavior and our goal is cognitive engagement, and we have it. The same with all of these pictures coming up. They may not look the same as when we went to school, but we are looking for 21st century skills. So on task, the job is independent reading, and we look at these pictures and we see that these children are on task and engaged, and we are moving out of more of a traditional box. This is a great picture. This is the work that Dave Hutchinson and I did together in Regina. This is a classroom, grade 1 classroom in the inner city, and you can see that most of the children are standing at the back of the classroom, and some of them have stand-to-learn desks. A lot of them have swivel chairs, but very few children in this classroom would have these hard plastic chairs because they didn't learn as well on them. This was a story of a young man that was in and out of many, many special education programs, and the way that we could regulate him is we put him on an exercise bike. There is much research out there about how exercise regulates the brain, and unfortunately our children in 2013 are not as physically fit as they were, and the lack of physical fitness has a direct impact on the brain. And so this was a donation. We did not have a plethora of money to buy these things, but we got bike donations, and I'd certainly I'm missing my bike at Seaview, so I'm trying right now to find myself a donation. So if anybody, Lynn, you were able to bring in a bike at Wellington.
Yes, I took it away from my husband.
Yes.
Clean out the basement.
So Lynn